So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you?
G'day guys, welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. And by request, today I'll be showing you how to play Let It Go by James Bay. Now there's two different versions I'm going to run through today. The first one is the chord strum based version, which is more suited towards beginners. And the second version I'm going to show you is the studio fingerpicked version. So the studio version I'm teaching you is also the exact way he plays it live. So check out this video right here. It's an acoustic performance that he's done and it's absolutely amazing, but it's exactly what I'll be teaching you later on in the lesson. That second version is in different tuning as well as being fingerpicked, but it sounds absolutely amazing, so it's definitely worth learning. So if you want to skip to the studio version of this song, then just hit the button here. Alright, for the easy version for beginners, what you'll need is a guitar in standard tuning and you'll need your capo on the 6th fret. There's 5 chords you'll need to know: C, G, E minor, D, and A minor. Now those are the basic chord shapes. However, when I play this song, I like to alter the chord shapes a tiny bit, and I think this sounds better acoustic, to be honest. So here are my chord tweaks, but of course you can play just the normal chords if you want. What I like to play instead of the C is the C major 7. So instead of putting your index finger down on that first fret, you just lift it up. So it just sounds like that. For the G chord, I like to change that to a G6 chord. So basically all you need is your ring finger on the 3rd fret and then your middle finger on the 2nd fret relative to the capo, of course. And just hit all the strings, nothing else. Now that's a G6 chord. Now I think that sounds great. The E minor will leave the same. Now for the D, this is the shape that I like to use. So you had your C major 7 shape. Basically you're just taking that and you're moving it up 2 frets. So you got your ring finger on the 5th fret relative to the capo and your middle finger on the 4th fret relative to the capo. We'll just be calling that the D shape. Alright, and you don't hit the top string. So again, it's basically the same as the C major 7 shape, but just moved up 2 frets. And finally the A minor, we're going to leave the same. Okay, so for the intro verse, we have a 4 chord progression. And it's just going to be G, but I'm going to be playing the G6 of course. And then goes C, but I play the C major 7. And then it goes E minor, and then to D, but I'm playing the alternative D shape here. So it's just those 4 chords repeated over and over for the intro riff and for the verse. Now for strumming pattern, what we'll have is down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and slower. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So each chord progression is going to have 2 chords within it. Now the point at which you change from the G to the C, and the point at which you change from the E minor to the D is going to be on the 4th down strum of that strumming pattern. So it'll sound like this. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So again, it's that 4th down strum where you change from the G to the C, and when you change from the E minor to the D. So I'll just play that verse chord progression a couple of times for you.
Walking hard and talking low to see his shows and living close with you.
Now we get to the pre-chorus, and the pre-chorus has 3 chord shapes that we have not yet learned, but they're a bit unique and they only happen in the pre-chorus, so that's why I've left it till now to explain them. Okay, so first chord is the E minor, and then after that we take our middle finger, which is already on the 5th string, and we slide it up to the 5th fret. So you'll be hitting that note on the 5th string. So that's the only note you'll be holding down for this chord shape. Now it's important to mute a couple of strings when we're strumming this though. Firstly, the 6th string needs to be muted. And to do that, it's very easy. We just take our index finger and we lightly rest it on top of the string, but we don't push down, alright? So it'll sound like that when we hit it. But that 5th fret on the 5th string will still ring out. And then the other string we have to mute is the 4th string. Now to do that, the same thing applies, but we're going to take our ring finger and just rest it lightly on top of that 4th string. So the only string you'll be pushing down is 5th. Alright, and for the other strings, you're going to have the 3rd and the 2nd string open. You can hit that 1st string, but I think it sounds better if you just keep it to those 3 strings. So after that shape, you move down 1 fret, the exact same shape. And finally, the last chord shape is that again, move down 1 fret. So we've got 5th fret, 4th fret, and then 3rd fret. In total, it's the E minor, 5th fret, 4th fret, and then 3rd fret. Remember, for those last 3 chords, the 6th string and the 4th string need to be muted. Now we're going to use this same strumming pattern here as well. So from the 1st chord to the 2nd chord, that's going to be in 1 strumming pattern, and the 3rd chord to the 4th chord is going to be in 1 strumming pattern as well. The second time we play this pre-chorus, we don't go down to that last chord on the 3rd fret. We end it simply on that chord. And slow, it will sound like this. And one more time at full speed.
But now we're sleeping at the edge, holding something we don't need. All this illusion in our heads is gonna bring us to our knees.
And now we get to the chorus, and the chorus just has 2 lines of chords that we need to learn. The first line of chords goes the C to G, E minor, and then to D. And the second line of chords is A minor, G, and then D. Now for the chorus we have the same strumming pattern, and the points at which the chords change is the same as well. So it's on that 4th down strum of that strumming pattern. Now one thing to note is that the second line of chords, when we get to the D is played for 1 full strumming pattern. It doesn't change to another chord. And in total, the chorus will sound something like this.
Let it go, just let it be. Why don't you be you, and I'll be me. Everything that's wrong, leave it to the breeze. Why don't you be you, and I'll be me, and I'll be me.
We get to the bridge, and the bridge is just going to be a 4 chord progression, and it's going to be really easy, and we're going to keep the same strumming pattern as well. So the 4 chord progression goes A minor, G, D, and C. Another thing to note is that for this chord progression, each chord has its own strumming pattern. So it'll sound like this. And at full speed, it'll sound like this.
Trying to fit your hand inside of mine when you know it just don't belong. There's no force in that could make me feel right, no. Whoa, trying to push this problem up to here when just too heavy to hold. Think now's the time to let it slide.
You'll notice that that strumming pattern is cut short as well at the end for the last chord. So it goes down, down, up, down, up, down, and then back into the chorus. So that's it for the easy chord strummed version. Now if you want to skip the studio version tutorial and go straight to the video playthrough with vocals, then click this button here. Otherwise, let's continue on with the studio version. Alright, for the studio version, we're not going to be using a capo, right? And we need to detune the guitar as well, to detuning. Alright, so that means that every single string is going to go down a full step. Now the tuner that I recommend is the chord pitch clip tuner. So it just clips onto the headstock of your guitar and it uses the vibrations from the wood to tune, which is really cool. So basically we go from E down to a D. And then the next string we go from A to a G. Next string, D to a C. Next string, G to an F. Next string is B to an A. And then finally, our last string is E to a D. And that's detuning right there. Okay, so now that we got our guitar in tune, let's start with the verse. Now there's 4 positions that we'll want to be in for this verse / intro riff. So the first position is going to be on the 6th fret of the 5th string with your index finger. And the other note you want to push down is the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So 6th fret of the 5th string and 8th fret of the 2nd string. So that's our first position. Now our second position is going to be the exact same shape, if you will, but just moved up to 11 and 13. Now our third shape, I'm going to keep the pinky on that same string. I'm going to move down to 8th fret there. And then we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to put it on the 6th string of the 8th fret. So that's our third position. And then our final position will be using the thumb. So this is a bit tricky, but it needs to be done. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and you're going to just put it over the top of the fretboard and push down on that 6th fret of the 6th string with your thumb. And then your index finger will either be on the 6th fret of the 1st string or the 2nd string. It depends on where it is in this riff, but I'll explain that in a bit. But that's the 4th position that you'll need to be in for this verse riff. So that's all you need to know for now. Now there's going to be a common picking pattern here that's going to be used throughout all the chord positions. And that's going to be your middle finger on the 2nd string and your index finger on the 3rd string. Just alternating like that. Now that's going to consistently be running throughout this whole riff basically. And we're going to throw in a bass note here and there at the same time with your thumb on either the 5th or 6th string depending on what chord shape you're on. So for this first chord shape, you're going to be plucking 2nd string to 3rd string 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. But on the first hit, what you're going to be doing is using your thumb to hit that 5th string at the same time. So it'll sound like this. And then after that, you slide up to your second chord position, which is at 11 and 13. And then you do the same thing, but this time you're going to be hitting that pattern 5 times. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So make sure you're hitting the 5th string with your thumb for the first note of each of those 2 chords, alright? So it'll sound like this. And one more time. So after that, we go down to our third position where we have the pinky on the 8th and our ring finger on the 8th of the 6th string. And we're going to be doing the same as the first chord. So we're going to be hitting that pattern 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. And the first time we hit it, of course, we got to hit that bass note with the thumb. So this final chord is going to be a tiny bit tricky. So we're going to hit our thumb on the 6th. Our index finger is going to be on the 6th fret as well. So at this point, what you'll need to do is you're going to hit that first string with your ring finger. You're going to be plucking it with your ring finger. So, and you're still going to go back to the 3rd string. So it's going to be 1st string to 3rd string. So that's going to be done 3 times. So, and then after that, you're going to take your pinky finger, you're going to put it on the 9th fret of the 2nd string. You're going to hit the bass note at the same time, roll to the 3rd fret, open, and then do the same, but you're going to slide your pinky finger down to the 8th fret. So altogether that last chord will sound like this. So the bass notes hit 3 times here. Once at the start, and then once when you're at 9th fret with your pinky, and once again when you're at 8th fret with your pinky. And altogether, the first bit of this verse / intro riff will sound like this. So for the second part of this verse / intro riff, what you're gonna do is play everything exactly the same. Now the only thing that's gonna differ is that last chord position. So instead of pushing down the 1st string at the 6th fret, you're going to be pushing down the 6th fret of the 2nd string with your index finger. And you're going to be hitting that roll 5 times. And the bass note will only be at the start of that chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So altogether, the second part of this verse / intro riff will sound like this. Now I'm going to play this at 75% speed and 100% speed, and you'll have a close-up of my picking hand so you can see what I'm doing.
From walking hard and talking loads to seeing shows in evening clothes with you.
So that's it for the verse and intro riff, and it's pretty straightforward when you get down to it. Now we get down to the pre-chorus, and the pre-chorus is going to have 4 positions again. So our first position is going to be with our index finger barred on the 8th fret. So for the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. So bar them down. And we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to place it on the 10th fret of the 4th string. So we have 10th fret, 8th fret, 8th fret. Alright. So that's our first position. Our second position is just going to be simply lifting that ring finger. Our third position is going to have our ring finger on the 8th fret of the 3rd string, our pinky finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and our index finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And that's the third position. And the 4th position is going to be the same thing, except you're going to move your index finger down to 6th fret. So just down 1, and that's going to be our 4th position. Now picking pattern wise, it's going to be the exact same thing that we had in the verse / intro riff. So we're going to start off with hitting the bass note of this chord shape that we have. So that's going to be on the 4th string right there for our first shape. I'm going to be hitting the 2nd string at the same time. And then we're going to play that 2-string picking pattern 3 times for this first shape. And for the next chord shape, we play it 5 times. And then we reset again. So for the third shape, we play it 3 times. And for the 4th shape, we play it 5 times. And all together, it'll sound like this. Now the second time that we play that riff, when we get to the 3rd chord shape, we're going to cut it there. So with that 3rd chord shape, we're going to hit that picking pattern 3 times. And then we're going to just end by plucking that 2nd string once more. So altogether, the second time round we play it, it will sound like this. So I'm going to play this at 75 and 100% speed and have a close-up of my picking hand for you to follow along with.
But now we're sleeping at the edge, holding something we don't need. All this illusion in our heads is gonna bring us to our knees.
Now we get to the chorus, and we'll break this up into the first half and second half. So for the first half we have 4 chord positions. We're starting on 13 and 11 like we had in the verse. And then our second shape is just going to be down at 6 and 8 like we had in the verse. And then we're going to slide these fingers down to 3 and 4. So index finger will be on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and pinky will be on 4th fret of the 2nd string. And then finally our 4th chord shape is going to be down at 1 and 3. So index finger on 1st fret of the 5th string, pinky finger on 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And picking pattern is going to be exactly the same. So 2nd string to 3rd string. And again, the first chord is going to be 3 of those picking patterns. And then the second chord is going to be 5. And then the third is going to be 3 again. And then the fourth is 5. Now another way on remembering when to change chords is to know that from the first to the second chord, that's going to change at the end beat after the 2. The same thing applies for the third to the first chord. Now I'll count along and play just to demonstrate. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So again, it's the end beat after the 2 that you change from the first to the second chord and from the third to the fourth chord. So that's it for the first half of this chorus riff. Now the second half is just as simple, we just have different chord shapes. So the first chord shape for the second half is going to have our index finger on the 8th fret of the 5th string and our pinky on the 9th fret of the 2nd string. Same picking pattern will apply, and then our second chord will be 6 and 8, the same that we had in the first part of the chorus, and then our final chord will be 1 and 3. Now on that final 1 and 3 chord, we're going to be playing that picking pattern a total of 8 times. So to recap this second half of the chorus, we have 8 and 9 as the first chord, played 3 times with the picking pattern. We have 6 and 8, played 5 times with the picking pattern. And we have 1 and 3, played 8 times with that picking pattern. So the second half sounds something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now I'm going to play this chorus at 75 and 100% speed with a close-up on my picking hand again for you to watch.
Come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. Everything that's wrong, leave it to the breeze. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. And I'll be me.
And that's it for the chorus. Now we get to the bridge, which is really easy, and that's just 4 chord positions. So the first chord position is going to be 8 and 9, so index finger on 8 and our pinky finger on 9th fret of the 2nd string. Now for each chord, we're going to be hitting the bass note twice. Now the point at which we're going to be hitting this bass note will be on the 1 beat and the end beat after the 2. So it'll sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Notice I'm hitting the bass note with my thumb on the first and the end beat after the 2. The second chord position is going to be 6 and 8 on the same strings and the same picking pattern. So 8 times of the picking pattern, and the bass note's going to be on the 1 beat and the end beat after the 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the third chord position is going to be up at 13th and 15th fret on the same strings. So index finger on 13 of the 5th string and pinky finger on 15 on the 2nd string. Same picking pattern applies. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the final chord position is going to be 15 and 16 on the same strings. So you're going to move up to 15th with your index and 16th with your pinky. And same picking pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now the second time round that we play that chord progression, when we get to that last chord position, which is on 15 and 16, we're playing up until the end beat after the 2 and we stop there. So we go 1 and 2 and we stop. 1 and 2 and. So I'll play this at 75 and 100% speed, and I'll have a close-up on my picking hand, of course.
Trying to fit your head inside of mine when you know it just don't belong. There's no force in there could make me feel right, no. Whoa. Try to push this problem up to here when it's just too heavy to hold. Think now's the time to let it slide.
So that's all the rhythm for the studio version of Let It Go by James Bay. So it's really fun to play, it sounds absolutely amazing, and it's not too hard either, so give it a shot. Now I'm going to quickly teach you how to play the lead riff in the intro and post choruses. Now my guitar is still tuned in detuning, so I'm going to give you the tabs here relative to this detuning, alright? Now if you want to play this riff on standard tuning, then all you need to do is move each one of these notes down 2 frets, okay? 2 frets. So if I've written right here on the tab a 6, then you play a 4 on a standard tuned guitar, alright? So for this riff, we start with our index finger on the 2nd string on the 8th fret, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to hammer on to the 9th fret with our middle finger. So after we've hammered on to the 9th fret of the 2nd string, we're going to hit the 11th fret of the 1st string with our pinky finger. And we're going to keep our middle finger on that 9th fret. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit 11th, 9, and then 11th and 9. Alright? So all together it's... And one more time. In terms of picking down or up, I'll have that notated on the tabs as well, with a D or a U, which will indicate a down pick or an up pick. So following on from that last note that we've just hit, which was on the 9th fret of the 2nd string, we're going to pull off after that down to the 8th fret again. So to pull off, what we do is we have our finger on the 9th fret, but we also have our index finger on the 8th fret ready to go. So that's already pushing down on that fret. So when we hit that string, all we do is we do the pull off action with our middle finger, and we just pull it down, and then you'll be able to hear that 8th fret. So like that. You pluck it, and then you pull off with your middle finger. So it sounds like this. And then after that, we take our ring finger and we hit the 10th fret of the 1st string, and then we slide that up to the 11th fret. And altogether we have... When we hit that 11th fret on the 1st string again, we're going to slide that down. And it doesn't need to slide anywhere in particular. You can just slide down a few frets and then let go your finger. So after that, we're going to go to the 8th fret of the 2nd string with our index finger. And then we're going to go to the 8th fret of the 1st string with our index finger. And then the 11th fret of the 2nd string with our ring finger. So altogether, this first bit of this riff sounds like this. Now the second half of this riff is going to be the exact same as the first half of this riff. And the only difference is the end of it. So after we've slid, and then we go to the 8th fret of the second string, we simply just go to the 11th fret of the second string. We don't go up to the 8th fret of the first string. So altogether, the full riff sounds like this. Now I'm going to play this at 75 and 100% speed. I'm going to have a close-up of my picking hand and my fretting hand so you can follow along. Now I'm going to be doing a verse, chorus, bridge playthrough of both the easy version that I taught at the start of this video and the studio version. And there's going to be a vocal track on top for some context. So I suggest you play along because that's the best way they're going to learn, and see how you go.
Walking hard and talking loads to see his shows in evening clothes with you. From nervous touch to getting drunk, to staying up and waking up with you. But now we're sleeping at the edge, holding something we don't need. All this illusion in our head is gonna bring us to our knees. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you and I'll be me? Everything that's wrong, leave it to the breeze. Why don't you be you and I'll be me? And I'll be me. Trying to fit your hand in the side of mine when you know it just don't belong. There's no force in there could make me feel right, no. Whoa. Try to push this problem out to here when it's just too heavy to hold. Think now's the time to let it slide. From walking hard and talking loads to see his shows in evening clothes with you. From nervous touch to getting drunk, to staying up and waking up with you. But now we're sleeping at the edge, holding something we don't need. All this illusion in our heads is gonna bring us to our knees. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you and I'll be me? Everything that's wrong, leave it Trying to fit your hand inside of mine when you know it just don't belong. There's no force on earth could make me feel right, no. Whoa. Try to push this problem up to here when it's just too heavy to hold. Think now's the time to let it slide.
So thanks for watching this guitar tutorial on how to play Let It Go by James Bay. I absolutely love this song, so hopefully I've been able to help you guys play it. If you've liked this video, then please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave your thoughts, comments and questions below, and I'll see you next time on Guitar Zero to Hero.